for like a normal steak, if you're out to dinner, I'll wholeheartedly disagree that ketchup should go on
You're
steak.
probably paying a premium for that steak. You want to taste every little bit of that thing.
Oh, I do. Plus ketchup. Great.
Hey guys, I know that since we're all on lockdown, there's all these trends that keep popping up, and one of these things that I've seen on the old social medias is people doing things that they dislike. These like top 10 things that they've put out there that everybody else likes that they don't like, or something to that effect. And I would advise people not necessarily put that out there for everyone to view, because a lot of scammers and hackers can like take that information and use that as your passwords. Because a lot of times that's what people use as their passwords, is that information. So it's probably not the best thing. But nonetheless, we're going to throw caution to the wind and share our unpopular opinions and let all these hackers steal our passwords.
All I've done is written all of my passwords in a list, and I'm just gonna hold it up to the camera. That's all I'm gonna do.
My password is just I love Lucas more than the rest of the cousins.
Well, I already knew that though.
Exclamation point at the end of that too. Yeah, there's a few uppercase sections.
That's weird because my password is I love the cousins more than Lucas.
Oh, son of a!
No, it's okay.
Mine is I have no cousins.
The thing just got really weird.
Well,
I feel like since we're going to be sharing unpopular opinions, we've kind of talked about this before on the show. In fact, the second episode we ever did was overrated things, which is it might as well be the same thing as an unpopular opinion. And we also did guilty pleasures, which is kind of the opposite of things that you dislike. It's things that we like that everybody else tends to not like. So let's just jump into this here. Cody, I feel like you're the guy amongst us who gripes and moans the most about things that are popular. You were just telling us about how you tried
Did you say me?
Well, look, you just told us how you signed up for a free trial on Hulu to watch the movie Ransom with Mel Gibson because you were determined. And then you just told us, you're like, this isn't worth it at all. Not worth it at all. But I feel like you would have said that even if it was free.
No, it would be worth it if it was free.
I don't know.
I think I would sign up for Hulu Live if it was free, sure.
But to go through the whole registration process, I feel like you would have been like, no, this wasn't worth my time.
The registration process.
Yeah, you have to
they got
put
my
all your
fingerprint
email in, you got to sign
my
up.
driver's license.
You have to go down to the DMV, talk to Mr. Hulu.
I need to have my, what is the new ID? Oh, real ID?
Oh, yeah.
Real ID.
Yeah.
That's been delayed, by the way, from this whole lockdown situation.
Well, thank God.
So glad. I've just been worrying about that for 6 months.
I've been stressing out about it.
Classic.
Can't go anywhere.
All right.
Yeah. No, it's not worth $60 a month for Hulu Live. Kill me, sue me, Hulu. It's ridiculous. Unless you're really into live sports and
it's like a TV subscription.
yeah.
Yeah, essentially.
Okay.
TV via the internet.
So what ended up happening after the last podcast? I was telling them earlier, I did get Ransom on Hulu with that subscription, but it was like the TBS version of Ransom. So all the bad words were edited out. There was commercials. All the violence was edited out. So I was watching a dumbed down version of.
So all the
film.
effort, and you could probably buy it for $4 on Amazon.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's $20 on Amazon.
Oh wow, they really.
probably
Why is
about
that
that.
movie in such demand right now?
I know.
It's rare. It's a rare find.
Yeah. Nobody wants you to watch Ransom. Apparently.
Apparently, yeah.
Apparently not.
I just find it funny, like, this is like the first follow-up we've done from a podcast from a previous episode, and it's about how Cody was determined to watch the movie Ransom.
I got it, but only halfway there.
Got to get your Mel Gibson fix.
Got to get my Mel Gibson. Next is the Patriot.
Actually, me and my wife were just watching all of the Lethal Weapons, and I don't know if you guys have seen those movies, but they're actually really good. They're really entertaining. They're not like perfect, and they're kind of cheesy in some moments, but I highly recommend them. They're really good, actually.
I think I've seen the first one and the fourth one, and I remember them being pretty good.
Yeah,
but they're definitely like they're cheesy at moments for sure.
Yeah, they are definitely over the top, like not realistic, but it's just kind of that call back to old school 80s action where it's kind of like the Stallone and Schwarzenegger stuff where it's just, this isn't how this isn't life. This isn't how it really operates. But it's just so entertaining, and you're like, I would gladly. If they kept making more of those, I'd watch them.
I just love because Joe Pesci's in like I don't know one or a few of those, right, or all of them.
He's in all of them, but except the first one.
Except the first one, yeah. I just loved his character because that was like the first time I'd seen him in something other than like a crazy gangster movie, and it was like, oh, this guy's like an actual actor. He's not a gangster.
Right. Yeah.
He's just actually a funny dude.
Kind of playing against type a little bit. But yeah, anyway, all right. Enough about the things we do like. Let's talk about the things that we don't like, because that's what we like to do around here is nag like crazy. Joel, what do you got for me? What's an unpopular opinion? I wanted you to just shoot from the hip.
You know what? I've been thinking about this. I'm going to start it off with a controversial one.
Oh, here we go.
And I had already mentioned this before.
Here we go.
I'm looking at you, Luke.
Uh-oh.
I'm not a huge fan.
Don't tell me.
Of Star Wars: New Hope.
Of what?
You sick.
Here it comes. We're all ganging up on Luke.
Sick. Mother.
I didn't hear what you said.
I don't really like Star Wars: A New Hope.
Oh, I thought you said Stouffer's. All right, that makes sense.
You don't like Stouffer's lasagna?
Joel
You
doesn't
don't like Stouffer's frozen lasagna?
Actually,
I would
that
never
be-
say a thing like that.
That would be controversial as well. Yeah, well, it's over between us. It's over.
It's family. No, I watched it recently because I was excited to show Anissa because I think she had said she had seen Star Wars, but it had been like years, and I was like, oh, like let's watch the whole series. And I was all excited because I was like, this is the original one. This is like the beginning of Luke Skywalker's story. And then as the movie progressed, I was just like, this isn't very good.
Yeah,
I'm not enjoying it that much.
Especially if someone is coming in new to like the Star Wars universe, that is a rough movie to get through.
Yeah.
Because, like, I'm probably the worst person to like play this game with because I'm like the most like amiable person on the face of the planet. Like I'll take anyone's side. I'll be like, hey, I get what you're saying.
You're right, Joel. You're right.
You're right.
I
Joel.
hate that movie.
Yeah, for the record, Luke is a big Star Wars fan. For those,
I'm a huge Star Wars fan, but I like A New Hope. I'm not gonna get into like I could go for days.
I know.
But,
I was like, where do we start?
Yeah. Where A New Hope shines is like you have to think of it as like a classic film. It's like a old movie, and you have to think of it as like the technological achievement that it was in the day, right? Mm-hmm. But like as of today, as a movie, as like a storyline, it's like the most simplistic. There's like 3 scenes in the whole movie.
Right.
There's like nothing to it. It's actually really short, like, and it's really cheesy. But I don't know. I think you have to watch it as like you have to like grow up with it.
Yeah, you definitely have to grow up with it, and I knew you were gonna say something like that, like because I agree. Like I appreciate the movie for like basically what it's done for film, and just I mean. George Lucas creating the story and like making that back in the day, back in the 70s, was like definitely an achievement. I totally get it.
Yeah.
But to objectively look at it and be like, even though there were so many achievements in that movie with like just like groundbreaking special effects and whatever, and like I guess out there story, it's just like it just falls flat as like a story, and just like the directing in general. Like you watch Empire Strikes Back and like Return of the Jedi, and you're like, these are better films.
Yeah.
Like there's the very similar story, yet these are way better.
Yeah. Yeah. George Lucas, like he really threaded the needle with Star Wars. Like he really he got lucky with it being so popular, and I think it was just the fact that it was so out there for its day. But yeah, like obviously George Lucas is like touted for being a horrible dialogue writer and a horrible director. He's like a big idea man, and that's pretty much it.
That's a good way of putting it, actually.
And like even the, to this day, like the main actors that are still alive, like still make fun of him. Like every chance they get, they make fun of like George Lucas directing. But get it into the hands of someone that's like quasi talented, and it turns into an amazing story.
I want just to chime in real quick. I have a question for both of you, but first I just need to get Cody's 2 cents on this, because I've actually asked this question to Cody before. I said, "What is the most overrated movie to you?" And you didn't wait a second. You just said Star Wars. So correct me if I'm wrong, Cody. You agree with Joel that movie's this is a very unpopular opinion that Star Wars is not that great of a movie, at least in your opinion.
Are we talking specifically New Hope?
Yes, specifically New Hope.
But if you don't like him in general, that's also an unpopular opinion. I would love to hear that as well.
I have a very boring answer. We've all heard a million times, where I'm kind of indifferent about it. So I don't feel strongly one way or another.
Well, you know what? Just get off the podcast, would you?
I'm trying.
Unbelievable.
You keep inviting me.
Your contract's not up. You're stuck with us.
Give me my paycheck first. I don't know. I think it's okay. It's okay. I can appreciate it for what it is.
That's all you can do.
And anybody who's watching, Dylan, you have a Star Wars poster in the background. So
what? Is that what that is?
What? How did this get in there?
I was actually. Go ahead.
I assume that comes from your wife.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'd imagine that doesn't belong to you or didn't belong to you before you got married.
Yes, my wife is obviously a huge Star Wars fan. For those who are not viewing on YouTube, there's a huge Star Wars banner of the original trilogy behind me. There's also this great movie that you can watch on Amazon right now called Social Norm. It stars all of us.
We're all floating heads.
Yeah, exactly. I just have you guys in my living room at all times. And every time, because I'm in the guest bedroom right now recording this thing, and so anytime anybody stays here, the bed is literally facing that poster. So it's like my huge freaking head is just constantly glaring at them as they sleep. I just kind of equate it to that poster in the movie The Haunting, where it's that big picture of Ukraine. It's like me.
You have two little slits cut out of the eyes, and then you actually look through them.
Nobody would know the difference. It's your eyes.
Yeah, it's your eyes.
I've also noticed, you guys can't tell, but I've noticed that apparently I don't think it's called a lazy eye, but I have an eye that's just
lazy eye.
It's independent eye. It doesn't follow suit with the other one. So
it goes in a
know what
different
that's
direction.
called? There's a scientific term. It's called the effed up eye.
I knew you were going to say that.
That's the Hulu version of that cuss word.
Fudged up eye.
Yeah, it's a fudged up eye. But anyway, the original question I was going to ask you guys was, do you think the new films are better than A New Hope? See, that's a tricky question, because I agree with
which
you.
new films?
The most recent ones, not the prequels. So we all agree that prequels are not good movies. But the sequel trilogy, or no, the sequel trilogy, I think it's just what it's called. Do you think those are better than the original movies? I guess in this case, I think that they are, and this is kind of to Joel's point, or no, this is your point, Luke, was the other ones are a product of a time. And have they aged well? I personally don't think they have aged as well, but I think that there is something to be said for history and what it's done to our culture, and I can get that. I actually like the story itself, but if you said, let's sit down and watch Star Wars, I'd be kind of bummed. I'd be like, I don't really want to watch Star Wars. But as far as the new ones go, I think that they are almost like the complete opposite. They are actually really well-made films, but the stories are just kind of like, what? What is this? I'm not a big fan of that. So it's but they're beautifully made. They're gorgeous. And you can't even say that for the prequels. The prequels just kind of look bad. You're this is kind of dated stuff, but the new ones are just gorgeously shot, and the visual effects are amazing. It's so photorealistic now, but yeah, it's complete opposite. So I'm I don't know which one I like more.
Yeah. It just depends on what you like. Do you want a little bit of pop culture gold, or do you want a fun movie to watch, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I kind of agree with you in a way. I feel like the newest trilogy, it is fun to watch, but it's like a giant slap in the face to true Star Wars fans.
Yeah, and I kind of got that vibe.
I mean, we're talking I was a Star Wars nerd. Like we're talking like I delved into the esoterica of the storyline and like followed characters outside of the movies like it was bad. But yeah, like it was like there's a whole universe of like super fans out there, right? That could tell you the life story of every character in the universe. But it's like they chose two people that know nothing about Star Wars to like write and direct those films. like they purposefully chose people to create just like really bland entertaining for everybody type movies.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, no, you didn't. Yeah, okay, but you didn't create a Star Wars. Like you didn't continue the Star Wars storyline, especially the Skywalker storyline. It's not even a Skywalker storyline. The next trilogy, spoiler alert, is a Palpatine storyline.
Right.
Has nothing to do with Skywalkers.
Yeah, and the thing that someone mentioned to me that I was like, I don't necessarily, again, I don't follow Star Wars so much, but I knew enough to like, I could tell, I knew the history, I knew the story, I had watched the films, I'm a film guy, so I kind of, you have to know about Star Wars if you want to be in film. And at the end of the last one that just came out, Rise of Skywalker, the supposed conclusion to the whole thing, I told my wife after we saw it, I was like, was I entertained? Yes, I was. As the story of Star Wars, I'm like, what? What was that all about? That makes no sense. Like, you could tell they didn't have a plan, that they were just throwing money out. But again, I paid to go see it, so good on Disney, and they got my money. You know, like I guess it didn't matter. So
exactly,
what are you gonna do?
I'm in the similar boat. I think I don't know. I was never like a huge crazy Star Wars fan, so I wasn't into like the lore of Star Wars. But I feel like the new ones, like I would be more likely to want to watch the newer ones than like the original trilogy, just because I do think they're entertaining. Are they like great movies? The stories are just like meh to me. Like they're forgettable. I don't really care. I don't really care about the characters either. I don't think they did a good job of like actually developing the characters and making you care for them. So definitely like they have plenty of faults, but as far as like entertainment value, entertaining, yes. They look good, yes. And it has like some Star Wars themes, obviously. So it's like, okay, that's cool. But other than that, it's like, I don't know. I feel like they dropped the ball, especially having waited, I don't know how long between,
Right.
The J.J. Abrams film compared to episode 3.
Right.
It's like you had all that time to think of all these stories of Star Wars that you could put on film again, and you would choose that one. It's like, all right.
Well, and with it's not like George Lucas was like sitting there twiddling his thumbs. It's like, no, he sold LucasArts to Disney, and they had the full power and breadth of like the Disney machine behind this thing. You don't think that they could have put something a little bit better together? I don't know.
Right.
It's like,
no, and I agree. I think the reason it turned out the way it turned out is because they were trying to please as many people as possible, right? So
it's all about the money, man.
And when you do that, you lose certain values that film has. It's like sometimes you have to be polarizing in a certain way. If you don't, then you're just in the middle and you're just like, forgettable.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways.
All right. There's also something too, like as far as films go that are popular. We talked about this film on the overrated episode that we did, where we mentioned like what's an overrated movie to you, and to me this is a super unpopular opinion, but 2001: A Space Odyssey. Speaking of like movies that like Star Wars was directly influenced by 2001: A Space Odyssey, came out in the 60s. I've made a video on our channel, which you guys should go watch for right now. Watch out for it, stupid.
Watch out for it.
Watch
Don't
out.
watch it.
It's coming at you. But no, like it's not like gone viral or anything like that. It's been viewed, a couple thousand times. I think it's got like 4,000 views or something like that. But it got a heavy amount of comments on it, and it's very polarizing. And I knew it was going to be because this is obviously a very popular film. But what's interesting to me is that when it comes to that video in particular, I, at the very end of it, specifically say, you should see 2001: A Space Odyssey and you should make up your own mind. Because I am not for, you have to follow the trend of liking something. Like Star Wars is a very, very popular movie, just like 2001 is. And if you don't like something, like, I think it should be totally okay to voice that opinion. But I think we just live in a day and age now, especially with the internet, where everybody's like, you have to agree with me or else you're a stupid moron. And then here come the trolls, you know, especially I think probably like specifically Twitter or those kind of platforms that are just filled with people that it's all they'll have to do is just bash people. But it's just so weird to me is that in that video, I tell people like, I didn't like this film. Here is why, but you should see it anyway and make up your own opinion, you know, or make up your own mind. And people are just like, hate this. I'm like, what? Like, I'm telling you to see the movie. Like, what? I was like, I don't like it, but maybe you will. Check it out. They're like, hate you. I'm like, dude, what's wrong with people? Like, is there nothing else you can do?
Well, it's because you gave your opinion on it, and anytime you give your opinion on YouTube, prepare to get smashed by the opposing force.
It's so crazy to me. It's just like, how easy is it to just be like, oh, I guess we disagree? Is that
right.
so difficult? Everyone has to take things so personally. I'm like, all right, like if like one of my favorite movies is The Matrix. If someone said I hated that movie, I'd be like, well, I guess we disagree, and then I move on with my life. Like, I don't understand what the difference is. But speaking of unpopular opinions, one that I always get bagged on for this is food, and the food that I always complain about is pie. I don't like pie. I don't like any type of pie. I don't care what flavor it is. I don't like it. I've tried a lot of them. I've tried to like it. I would really like to be part of the club that likes to eat pie. Because believe me, after every holiday event, people are serving pie, and I'd love to be part of that. But people are always so shocked when I tell them I don't like it. And they go, why don't you like it? I'm like, I don't know. Why? Like, tell me something you don't like, and then I'll ask you that same question. just think it through. Like, I don't know. I just don't. I just don't care for it. It doesn't sit well with me.
Yep, that's on my list as well. I'm not a pie person. I mean, I'm like very indifferent about it. If somebody hands me a piece of pie, I'll eat it and be like, yeah, it was all right. But like, I would much rather get cake or ice cream.
How come I'm just finding this out about you, Joel? I thought like I could have used your support my whole life.
every time the family ganged up on you, I just stood in the back and just
apparently
curled up in a ball.
Left me high and dry like that, getting
Just
pounded.
cried
You don't
in
like
the
pie? Crucify.
I think the weird thing about that, Dylan and Joel, is it's such a broad statement. Like, you say pie, there's one of a billion different kinds of pie out there, and you're just like painting a large swath of like, I don't like any of this. I don't like a whole category of food. It's like me saying I don't like soup. Like, or like what kind of soup? I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's like you don't like cookies. You're like, well, what type of cookies? Like, we're talking Oreos, exactly. Chips Ahoy. Like, what type of? Like, no cookie. But I think that has to probably do with I can't explain it. And the analogy I always use is that, and I'm not equating pie to the taste of this, but I always say it's the equivalent of opening a package of bread, like sliced bread, and just eating it right out of the package. It doesn't taste like pie. Doesn't taste like bread to me. I'm just saying it's the equivalent of eating that, where you're like, that was okay. Like, bread doesn't taste bad. I just don't want to eat a sliced piece of bread. Like, I want something else.
It's very neutral.
Yeah, it's kind of like that was kind of it was not exciting. It gave me substance, but that's about it. And
for me, it's not that like I said, it's not that pie is bad. It's that there are so many, in my opinion, better things than pie that we could all be eating. Like, I would much rather have a big bowl of ice cream than pie. And if you're going to be like the one that says, well, you can have pie with your ice cream, how about just the ice cream? Because I prefer 2 scoops of whatever chocolate than 1 scoop of chocolate and a piece of pie.
Yeah, and that to me is like, I think that just goes back to that kind of tribal thing where people just can't believe that you don't like something that they like. And when they have a whole other group of people that agree with them, they're like, wait, no, you're an outlier. You must have this wrong. It's like, maybe they just don't.
Well, it's also it's polarizing because it's also like a very American dessert.
Yeah,
like
that too.
apple pie is like the most American dessert there is, and it's like when we say we don't like it, it's like, what? You damn whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Nazi.
But Cody loves pie. Cody's always vying.
Yeah, I
for
do.
pie.
You damn Nazis.
Yeah, Cody, I'm waiting for you to tell me something that that you don't like that everybody else likes, which I feel like I hear from you on a quite frequent basis.
Wait, that I like that no one else likes?
Or either or. You're usually in the minority of anything. You usually like movies that nobody else likes, or you usually dislike things that everybody else does like. You're the prime example of the unpopular opinion.
Here and there.
Okay.
A few things. One of the things that I like that it's going to get a lot of backlash from globally is ketchup on steak.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's definitely
a really
an
weird
unpopular
one.
opinion for sure.
I'm surprised you three are still here.
My cursor is hovering over the end chat right now.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah.
I actually don't like ketchup on steak.
Yeah.
So obviously I've witnessed this. You put in ketchup. Both you and Dylan.
Of course you did.
Yeah, you guys
Don't
both
try to
did
get
it.
out of
Hey,
this.
you know what? You can't out me now. I didn't know about your whole pie thing. And you can't just, if I had known.
I have tried it. I've tried the ketchup and steak, and I'm not gonna say it's disgusting. It's not bad, but you just don't do that to steak.
Yeah.
Especially
like
good
a
steak.
a
If
good
it was
steak,
if it was bad and like dry and like there was no redeeming qualities about it, I'd be like, yeah, slap the ketchup on because it needs help. But for like a normal steak, if you're out to dinner, I'll wholeheartedly disagree that ketchup should go on
You're
steak.
probably paying a premium for that steak. You want to taste every little bit of that thing.
Oh, I do. Plus ketchup. It's great. It's extra credit.
Yeah, well, like, here's the thing: is that everything Joel just said is actually the stage I'm in now. When I was a kid, I couldn't eat a steak or red meat without some sort of ketchup nearby. I just couldn't do it. But I have since changed. I was going to say matured, but I'm like, it's not the correct terminology. But I have since changed to exactly what Joel said, which is, if it's a juicy steak, I'm not going for any ketchup. I haven't used ketchup on a steak in a long time. But if it is as dry as a bone, in which case I don't know why I have a super dry steak. It's probably something I cooked. Then it might call for some ketchup. It needs help. It needs some assistance. But it's extremely rare that I do that. So I have since changed in that way. But I don't judge other people that do it because I'm like, hey, you know what? You do your thing. Like, there's very few
you
things I would
do.
judge if they do that, because I'm a very picky eater. My wife can vouch for me on this. I am the pickiest eater. But I've since changed from no more ketchup on steaks. So.
Cody, how often do you eat steak?
Well, not a whole lot recently, but when the world is operating normally,
Right.
probably 3 times a month.
Okay, that's a lot more than I eat it. So, out of all those times, do you always eat it with ketchup?
No, if it already has some sort of like glaze or something on it, like teriyaki sauce or barbecue sauce, then I don't use ketchup. If it's just simply a savory steak with salt, pepper, I gotta have some sort of syrup or some sort of.
And your
liquid
mama on
top
that
of
sucker.
I also have syrup on steak. I like sweet and savory. That's what I like.
Why didn't you go for like the A1?
I hate A1. I do not like A1.
Yeah, I'm not a
Actually, I
big fan
hate
of
A1 too.
Yeah,
I don't like
think
that
A1
either.
sucks.
Yeah.
I'd rather do a barbecue sauce.
Yeah, that's where it's at. That's what it needs to be.
Yep.
Good stuff. All right. I have another unpopular opinion here, and this is kind of out of left field. And this one I don't know if there's any jokes to this one. This one's like might get heated. This is an unpopular opinion.
I love it.
I'm not a fan of how we do tipping at restaurants. Not a fan. Not a fan of it. Now, if anybody has seen the movie Reservoir Dogs, there's an amazing, brilliant scene that's written by Quentin Tarantino that perfectly outlines the debate of this whole thing. So you probably should just tune off this podcast to go watch that scene instead, because they do a much better job of debating tipping in that scene. But if you're still here, Steve Buscemi's character perfectly outlines exactly how I feel about tipping, which is I'm not against tipping. If someone does a good job, you should be able to tip them. But what I don't like is this societal pressure that you have to tip 20%. And when I say have to, it doesn't mean like I'm required to by law. It means if I don't, I'm perceived as a jerk or an a-hole. And I'm like, why is it that applies here, but not over here? You don't tip people at McDonald's. You don't tip people in regular customer service jobs like the grocery store. They serve you food. And I'm not against people receiving tips. If you want to tip somebody, go for it. Do it. But if I don't do it, you can't call me a jerk. I'm sorry. I don't understand this whatsoever. And the first thing out of everybody's mouth when I say this is, those people need tips, to make their payments. Like it's usually people in, school that are trying to, just get by. It's, like a very minimum wage job. I'm like, I understand all that. I've worked minimum wage jobs, never got a tip. And I didn't care. It was like, hey, listen, it'd be great if I got tips, but I didn't get them. And I survived just fine. And you don't have to force anybody to do that. And if someone doesn't tip me, I don't call them a jerk. So that's my unpopular opinion.
Joel, you might know this, but I think I might have an argument against your opinion, Dylan. And I actually kind of agree with you because, like, tipping is like a very American thing. Like,
yes.
Other parts of the world, people don't tip.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the reason why it's such a big thing is because in the restaurant industry, like, wait staff doesn't even get minimum wage. Like, they get less than minimum wage. And it's legal because of tipping. Like, it's like tipping is like part of their wage, mm-hmm. and it's like factored in. So like, as a waiter, you like don't even get minimum wage in some jobs. I don't know. You were a waiter, Joel.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things said. Gotta clear up some things.
Joel's been a waiter in this case.
Yes. All right. So as far as the wage, so waiters do get paid minimum wage. It's like a state law.
F you, Joel. Prove me wrong.
However,
it's on Hulu, Luke.
It's on Hulu, Luke. You just have to pay $60 a month. But you also, by law, have to declare your tips.
Mm-hmm.
And taxes, they're taxed, your tips. So because we live in America, when you get tipped, you automatically, once you declare that, you get paid less than minimum wage because, so like, for example, my paychecks were like, if I worked 2 weeks, mm-hmm. I would get paid like $150. Like, that would be my paycheck, mm-hmm. which is like nothing. So like all my money came from tips, basically. That's where that argument comes from. Mm-hmm. Dylan, I'm trying to remember some of your arguments. Just because you're saying like, just because they're serving food doesn't mean they should get tipped. Correct. I don't think you should tip like the McDonald's person at the window, mm-hmm. But they're not doing as much as a waiter does. A waiter is like literally waiting on you, right? So they're not just waiting on you, they're waiting on 7 other tables or whatever is happening. Mm-hmm. Working a lot harder, a lot faster. And there's a lot of details that go into that for each table. Mm-hmm. But as far as like, should we tip, should we not tip, whatever, I totally agree with you that if you have a terrible waiter, 20%, no, out the window. I'm a waiter, or I was a waiter, mm-hmm. and I'm not going to tip 20% for a crappy service. Mm-hmm. It's not going to happen. And that's what makes, in my opinion, makes tipping fair, is that you have the power as the customer to tip however much you want. Mm-hmm. Now, on the flip side of that is when you are a waiter, sometimes you provide really good service and you don't get tipped at all. And that means basically you get nothing for like that table, and you spent 2 hours with that whole family trying to serve them, giving everything they want, and you get nothing. Mm-hmm. Because again, you're declaring all your other tips, that's deducted from your paycheck, and you don't get anything from that table. It's like, awesome. So I just wasted 2 hours of my day. Mm-hmm. So there's like a lot to be said about all that kind of stuff, but I don't agree that like it should be an automatic 20% no matter what. Mm-hmm. And I don't necessarily agree that there's a pressure to do that. I think there's a pressure to tip, but 20% for each server, bad or good, I don't think that exists, or shouldn't exist anyway.
Yeah, and I think like the discrepancy somewhere, and again, I need to make this abundantly clear to anybody else who is going to misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm for tipping. Tip your helpers if you want to. But I think like the discrepancy is when you do it and when you shouldn't do it. Because there's a lot of services out there. And I think the part where maybe like we would disagree on is the difficulty of the job itself and when is it required, because that's a huge gray area. Like we probably will never agree on when a particular service is required to receive a tip and not. But it almost seems like it's a prerequisite when you go to a restaurant, you are going to tip the waitress no matter what. But that's not a prerequisite for a lot of other positions and other industries that I personally feel require just as much work, and they're getting paid minimum wage without any tips. Now, a lot of people would disagree with me on that.
Give me one example of that.
Like you would, an auto mechanic or I would feel like people that work in fast food industries are working probably just as hard as they would. It probably requires a different skill level, but I feel like the difficulty level is just the same.
I don't think an auto mechanic is getting paid minimum wage.
Well, as far they're doing a personal service for you. It's like,
sure, but they're not getting paid minimum wage, is what I'm saying.
All right, so
or less than minimum wage.
And this is like the thing is that when we say restaurant workers, take for example, we're just talking about waiters because that's like the most prime example. People always say, well, that's what they get paid because that's where they get paid in tips because that's where they make most of the money because that's what the restaurant can afford. Is it not possible to just put all that money back into the cost of the food? That way we don't have to pay for tips, and that way we don't have to have this whole like conversation about when it's acceptable, when it's not acceptable.
Yeah, and some of, especially in Seattle, and I know other cities are doing it too, where it's an automatic gratuity already added to the check. Mm-hmm. But people get upset about that because like, well, what if you get bad service? That's like exactly what you're saying. It's like, well, now I'm automatically paying this person 20% when they didn't do a good job. But then that's exactly what you're saying to do, Dylan, is like, well, why don't you just put it in the bill and like we don't have to worry about tipping? It's like, well, when you do that, people complain anyway. So it's like,
well, what you can do is just put it not into a gratuity and just put it into the cost of the food. The burger doesn't cost $10; it costs $12. So it's like, all right, like that factors into the cost. Like I don't just make the burger; I have to serve it to you as well.
You can do that, but that's literally just hiding it, trying to hide it from the customer. But is anybody going to go to a restaurant and pay $20 for a $15 burger?
Well, I don't think it would be that much of an increase, but this is like the gray area, right? Is that now we're talking about like specific examples. But as far as like the pressure to tip anybody as a requirement, I feel like has been like, I don't think I've ever spent a time at a restaurant where it said, all right, how much are we supposed to tip here? And like that's never been a non-conversation. It always is like you have to tip. And I'm like, well, what if I want to tip only $2 because that's all I got on me? And then everyone's like, well, hold on, we have to do 15-20%. And that's where I go, all right, hold on. Again, I'm for tipping. I think people should receive tips, if they want to tip. And I just think it gets totally blown out of proportion a lot of times because people are like, it has to be 15-20%. But I think there's a huge swath of a gray area here that starts to drive me nuts because there's no consistency to it. And it's like, all right, what are we supposed to do about
I'll
that?
just say you should go into, if you're going to a restaurant, you should be preparing to pay 20%. If they don't meet that standard, like if they're not good, and if you're just sitting there without like a server for like 30 minutes and nobody's like even taking your order, then you can reduce that, no problem.
So what if I say you did a bad job, no tip, and they said I did a great job? Then what?
That's not up to them. It's up to you.
Well, and I think that's the thing is that it's somehow become a thing where everyone goes, no, he did a good job, you're just an a-hole. And I'm like, no, I think you didn't do a good job.
No, this is, I mean, what you're talking about is basically capitalism, right? Mm-hmm. This is, if you do a good job, then you're going to get paid for doing a good job. If you didn't, then you're not going to get paid for doing a good job.
Mm-hmm. Well, right. I mean, but that's the whole point about why I brought this up in the first place is that pressure you get from everybody saying you have to tip 20% when I can easily say I disagree. They go, well, you're just an a-hole. I'm like, no, I'm not an a-hole. I just disagree with you.
I don't know of any person.
Dylan?
I don't know of any person who's calling you an a-hole. If you get bad service and you don't tip them or tip them like 20%, they're not going to be like, what's wrong with you? Like, of course, like I know, at least all the servers I know and me personally, like I'm not going to tip. There's not going to be a chance in hell that I'm going to tip every server 20% because not all of them are going to meet that standard.
So if I tipped every waiter 5% from here on out, you guys wouldn't call me out on that?
I would say if they deserved more, then you should have paid them more.
See, this is like the discrepancy here is that I could say, why isn't it 2%? Why isn't it 50%? Like it could be any amount. Somehow we've arbitrarily said 20%. But if I disagree, it's somehow, well, they deserve more. I'm like, well, we just disagree. And you go, well, you're yeah, you're not being fair enough. And I'm like, well, see, this is the argument. Like, I don't think I'm being a jerk. I just think they only deserve this much.
Then I encourage you to take up a waiting job and see if that 20% meets what you feel you deserve. And if you're like, actually, I'm getting paid way more than I think I should be paid, then you can make the argument that you're making. Working in the service industry, I don't think 20% is too much to ask for good service.
Yeah,
I think another thing complicates this, Dylan. I think a lot of times, if you go out to a restaurant, say the four of us go out to a restaurant together, and we're splitting the bill, and at the end of the meal, we split the bill, and we say, okay, me and Joel, we're gonna put in $5 each to tip the waiter. And Dylan puts in 50 cents. Like I think that's the discrepancy. And like, it's not so much, I mean, it could be your viewpoint of like, maybe you didn't like the waiter. Maybe you don't think that they should get as much, but I think it's less, I think in that scenario, it's less about like the percentage of tipping the person, more of the social norm of like contributing to the meal equally. You know what I mean? Like I think that more so than like the actual like theory of tipping or like the amount or the percentage. I think it's like, okay, what is like socially, if I'm with my friends or family and I'm splitting the check or like we're all piling in for the tip, it's like, I think that is gonna cause more butting heads than if you got the bill and you're like, I got this, guys. No one would give a like you could leave him a penny and we would all just happily walk away and like, okay, whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's if there's a pool of people in, and that's where the differing opinions come into play.
Yeah. This is almost like directly from that scene in Reservoir Dogs, where it was just one person versus like this whole table going like, I don't believe in that, you know, type of thing. But I think you're exactly right. Like that's where like a lot of the conflict comes into play, is that if you're at the restaurant by yourself, you're a significant other, and you're the only one to see the bill, this is probably not that big of a deal. But it becomes a much bigger issue if you're in a group setting, because like, what if you're the person that says, I don't feel like pitching in an extra $5 because that person didn't meet my standards for service. And I think that's where things get a little more complicated. That's where a lot of my frustration comes from, is because I'm like, what if I just disagree and I don't want to put in that much? Therefore, now I'm the jerk. And that logic just drives me crazy, because, and to Joel's the argument about like you should work a service job, yeah, that's the same argument I hear every time I bring this up. And I'm like, listen, I've never worked as a waiter. And I'm sure this is where a lot of people tune out and they go, oh, you can't talk. I'm like, well, what? Are you saying that a waiter is like the hardest minimum wage job there is? Like, I don't think so. I think there is plenty of minimum wage jobs out there that are just as difficult that you don't get tips for. Like, I've worked 2 minimum wage jobs in my life that were customer service, just BS jobs that you hate. Didn't get any tips for them, but I wasn't sitting around going, well, I don't want to get any tips. Like, and it's just the inconsistency of it that drives me crazy. But I think, Luke, your point about when you're in a group setting, it becomes that's where this situation arises, is because now the fairness of what everybody else is putting in is now directly involved. And you're like, all right, I don't know how to negotiate with that and not be a jerk. And I mean, most of the time I don't skim over tipping. Like, I can't remember the last time I didn't give like 15-20% on a tip. But I just don't like the idea that if I were to go down on that, I'm somehow this a-hole who just doesn't appreciate good service or something like that. And I'm like, what? Like, I feel like I could just go down a little bit more. And yeah, it's just, that stuff bugs me.
From now on, I'm going to take a photo of all of your receipts, Dylan, at every restaurant, and I'm going to keep them in a record. Which come back to haunt you. You
know, and probably a lot of people won't believe me, but I swear it's true. I don't remember the last time I didn't tip 15 or 20%. And it's just because that's just like this social norm. That's the thing that people do. But that's the thing that bugs me, is that it is a social norm that has little to no consistency or logic to it with other industries. So, again, just my opinion.
Yeah, we can agree to disagree, but I can remember when I tipped less than 15% because the service was terrible. I'm just not going to do that.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to reward horrible service.
Right.
Like that just doesn't make any sense.
I know that Cody tips pretty liberally. Actually, he puts in a lot every time we go out. Because Cody's like very conservative with his money. Not to out him here on this podcast, but
Son of a you damn Nazi.
again,
Every time.
but every time we go out, Cody's like 30%. Like just going way over the top, and I'm like, whoa, hold on, like slow down.
30%.
Yeah, but you're usually
No,
like
it's-
very
it's-
attentive to that.
Yeah. Because I put myself in their shoes. Like, that's what you look forward to when you're working in that industry. Like, you get that job because you want to get good tips. So that's why I get that job. But it makes me feel good when I tip because I know that's why they're there. If they do a good job, I'm like, sure, yeah, 20%. If they do,
Yeah.
if they do an average job, it's 15.
Yeah,
And then you can do in between.
and just to prove my point further, there were servers where I worked that got more tips than other servers because they were better. So it's like it evens out, right? That they should be rewarded. They should get more because they're doing a better job than the other person.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
And they
agree with that. Word,
they
yeah.
prefer it in cash, right, Joel? Like, you don't have to claim that on your taxes if they
Well,
pay in cash.
Quote unquote.
The damn Nazis at the IRS.
It's a gray area, but yeah, you don't have to. Because if it's card, you have to enter that into the computer, and the computer knows that you have to put in a certain percentage to declare. So it basically automatically does that, or you have to enter it in, and it says no, you're wrong, or whatever. And with cash, obviously the computer does not know what you got tipped, so you can put in, oh, I got tipped $1, even though you got tipped $10. But at least where I worked, it had to be over a certain percent of cash that basically so it basically summed up all the cash that I sold to all the tables like within 2 weeks, and I had to hit a certain percent of that total of declared tips for the state of California. If I was under that, then I would be like, I don't know. I forget. I don't think I was ever under it, but I think they would literally take it out of like your paycheck, even further. So it was kind of like you have to stay. I think it was above 10% or something, which equals a lot of cash for sure.
Yeah.
Damn bastards.
It was the Nazis, right?
Thanks a lot, California.
Because they declare it as like part of your income. That's why. So that's why they can tax it.
Uncle Sam, man. All right, we got one more. We got time for one more unpopular opinion. Joel, which one do you got?
Let's stay on the food subject. I hate, and I don't think there should be.
So strong. I hate.
I am adamant about this. I don't want a pickle in my sandwich or my burger ever.
I literally have the same one on my list, Joel.
Do you really?
Guess what I had for dinner tonight? I had a turkey burger with pickles on it.
Ooh.
That's disgusting, Cody. You're a disgusting human.
So good.
Nazi.
So good.
Nazi.
You know, I have
Pickle loving Nazi.
I literally have a list of them, and on my list it says mustard is gross, so are pickles.
You know what? I enjoy pickles by themselves, but when you put them on a sandwich or especially a burger, that's all I taste. It's like you might as well just take everything out and just give me the pickle.
Yep.
Yeah,
Really.
you know what, guys? I would have. My taste buds have changed over the years, but I actually disagree with you. I actually like pickles not on a sandwich. Sandwich is kind of gross. Depends on the sandwich, maybe, but a burger definitely. On a burger, it tastes delicious.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Nah.
So you're
Still
telling
missing
me
out.
you take a bite of your burger, has a big old pickle in it, and you can taste every part of that burger and the pickle.
Yes.
They go well together.
Now again, like
Maybe I have weak taste buds or something. I don't know.
everything in moderation, right? Like I like onions too, but too many onions is bad news. So if it was like just this big ass pickle, I'd be like, I don't think that's gonna fly with me. But if it's just like one or two slices in there, I'm like, yeah, that's kind of got a little variety.
Just a pickle hanging out on either end of the bun.
It's like a huge dill pickle just in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could see that though. I mean, it's just one of those small details. You know what I don't like in a burger at all? I take it out every time is tomato. Tomato adds nothing to me. It's flavorless. It's just like watered vegetable known as a fruit.
I will say that, I mean, if you have a really good like ripe tomato, it's great. But most of the tomatoes they put on burgers are exactly that. They're flavorless. It's like this is a way. It just makes it soggy.
Yeah,
It's a texture. Yeah.
I take it off every time. You know what I've actually noticed too is I actually was not big on mustard, but I started putting mustard on all my burgers, and it just changed everything for me. I don't know. Like I've never been a fan of mustard, but something clicked in the last year. Where I was like, I guess I like mustard now, and I just put it on all my burgers. But I haven't come around to hot dogs.
I like mustard too.
Yeah, it's not bad.
I don't know. Mustard is like pickles to me. Like if there's mustard on a sandwich, that's all I taste. Can't taste anything else.
You know what's weird? I like mustard like in, definitely portioned out where it's not like just overpowering. But there is one food item that I will only eat mustard with. It's very strange, and literally the only thing I'll eat it with is a corn dog.
Okay. All right. That's pretty common. People eat corn dogs.
It's common, but I would prefer it over ketchup with a corn dog.
Okay, that's weird.
Yeah.
It
is weird. I agree.
Yeah, that is, I don't know. Well, I guess like a corn dog is essentially just a hot dog with fried breading around it, right? And a lot of people eat ketchup and mustard on a hot dog. So I guess, even like ketchup on a hot dog is controversial. But as far as mustard on a corn dog only, I think you might be in the minority on that one.
Oh, I'm definitely in the minority.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know too many people are like, you know what this corn dog's missing? Mustard.
Yeah. No, that one thing makes me a freak.
Uh-oh, Joel's got the COVID.
He's doing it.
I got the Rona.
You got the Rona.
Still in lockdown. Cody, do you like mustard at all?
Yeah, it's all right. I don't eat it a whole lot, but yeah, it's all right.
Would you stop talking so much?
I'm glad I got that out.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm glad you did. Well, anyway, I think we are.
I got one more food item. Real quick.
Comment, Joel.
Jeez. Was it pepperoni on pizza? No, wait.
Pineapple
on pizza?
Pineapple pizza? No. I think we might be all in the same boat. I don't remember if we've all done this. Dipping pizza in ranch.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait.
But that's a polarizing thing.
Wait, you don't like dipping pizza in ranch?
No, I love dipping pizza in ranch.
Oh.
We finally agree.
I feel like that's. I don't think that's a unpopular opinion. I think that's a popular.
I don't know. I've been. I think there are like some pizza like maybe from New York or something where they just like that would be a sin. So I think there's like just this group of people who are like, it's probably the same group of people that don't like pineapple on pizza. They're like, you're gonna dip it in
pizza
what?
purists.
Yeah. I think that's exactly what it is. And to me, like I don't judge anybody that puts ranch on pizza, but I do it very rarely. Like it's extreme. Probably like once every 5 years. It's like an event. Call everyone in. Dylan's putting ranch on his pizza. But I think a lot more controversial one is pineapple on pizza. And I know Cody and I are big fans of pineapple on pizza. And I don't know where this came from.
It's a West Coast thing, I think. If you get someone from New Jersey, they'll kick your sorry ass.
Well, yeah, East Coasters, New Yorkers, man, it's cheese or pepperoni, and that's it. That's it. That is a pizza. Anything else is a salad.
Yeah. And this is like something to where if somebody, again, I'm hoping this is all in good fun when we make fun of other people for liking different foods, but I feel like a lot of times in this particular instance, people are like adamantly angry that people like pineapple on pizza. And I don't get it. I'm like, I think pineapple on pizza tastes good. So what? But it's just like this whole swath of people out there. It's probably got to be, like you said, the New Yorkers that are just like, it's only two options and that's it. You sacrilegious people with your fruit on pizza. But yeah, I'm like...
It's the same people that dislike people for supporting a different sports team than they do.
Probably,
and they want to like physically harm them. It's the mind... It's like the thought process of a Neanderthal. It's like barbaric.
That's actually very true. That's actually pretty funny.
You know what's funny is that there's something that I don't think we've ever really talked about that much between us, even on or off the show, is that, and this is kind of an unpopular thing, especially amongst guys, but I don't think any of us, correct me if I'm wrong, any of us follow any sports teams. We don't watch any
Dylan,
sports.
Literally,
Don't
so
say it. Like,
on
did you
my
just start?
list, on my list of things, I'm telling you, Dylan, I dodged a bullet because I have a whole list of unpopular opinions, and you guys didn't ask for mine once, so I dodged a bullet. But on my list is watching sports sucks.
Yeah. But I think all four of us are actually. I always told my wife this. I always make fun of us. I said, you know, you hit the jackpot with me because not only am I gorgeous, but no, I don't play any video games and I don't watch any sports. And I know that's like a huge thing for women against guys. Like they're just like, I don't get it. But I don't think any of the guys in our family, maybe minus Matt. Matt, if you're watching, I know you watch baseball, you love sports, but I don't think any of the guys in our family like watch sports, which is weird.
Since I lived in Seattle, I started following the Seahawks. And like I won't like go to a bar to like watch them, but I'll if they're playing, I'll like track the score like on my phone.
Mute
and
Joel's
like
mic.
Please don't. I count.
Yeah.
And I like watch the highlights afterwards. So like I want them to win. That's the furthest extent of me as like a sports fan.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because I've played in many fantasy football league and like have gotten into it that way. Even if I'm playing fantasy football, I don't watch a single game. I make my picks and I'm like, well, the cards will fall where they may. It does not interest me in the least.
Yeah.
It really doesn't. If it's like a social event and like, you know, people are gathering for a game and like beer and nachos and stuff.
Yes.
Absolutely. I love
Yes.
it. Have a great time. I enjoy it. But I am there to hang out with my friends. I'm not there to watch the game.
Yeah. I am 100% on the same page with you, Luke, is that I don't play fantasy football. I'd almost kind of wish I knew how to play because it sounds kind of fun, actually. But the thing is, I just don't care about football or any sport for that matter. The closest would maybe be basketball because you and I played basketball back in high school. And this is not like, I'm sure all the trolls are going to be like, oh, yeah, you unathletic, you know, fatties. You never played a sport in your life. No, we all played sports. I think every single one of us has endured a sport at some point. We played a lot of it growing up. But it's just watching it professionally, we couldn't care less. But the one exception is that, like, I look forward to the Super Bowl every year just because I love the social event that surrounds it. Get together with friends. We're going to have a few beers and some delicious food. We're going to root for the team that's playing against Tom Brady.
Not anymore.
Yeah, apparently. But yeah, it's like I'm not into it like whatsoever, which is a very weird thing to me because most of the men, I'd say 90% of the men in our family don't watch sports, at least on a regular basis. And it's very, very rare. So
basically the Guthries.
Yeah, I think it's just the Guthries, maybe.
Yeah. And I think it's telling because I think the only reason we are excited for the Super Bowl is the food and the beer, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly.
If there was no food, if we were invited to a party and they're like, oh, there's not gonna be food or drinks, we'd be like, no.
Yeah,
I'm good.
I'm not going to that. Yeah, like you might as well just like, well, I'll stay home and watch a movie. It'll probably be a more fun event for me because I just I don't care who wins or who loses. Just like it is what it is. But yeah, really weird. Cody loves sports though. He follows it. I know he tracks all the teams, has all their stats.
You shut your mouth.
Cody's still
He's gonna
mad.
call you Nazi again.
So angry.
Still mad about the pineapple on the pizza.
So 15%, right?
Jack is tipping. All right, I think we are out of time for this one. Anybody else have an unpopular opinion they want to get out right before we conclude? Too bad. All right, we're moving on. All right, well, thank you everybody out there for watching, listening to That Cousin Show. We'll be back soon with another episode. If you are still here with us at this point, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and check us out on all our social media accounts, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and I think that's it. SoundCloud and iTunes. We're there too. But other than that, anything else you guys want to say? Parting words?
Nope. Peace out.
Damn,
Cody looked
Nazi.
great today.
Yeah, Cody did great today.
Thank you, Joel. You encouraged me
Oh, we did great. All right,
to be my best self.
adios.